Welcome to what is the first of our developer discussions where we're going to be chatting about Q coming to PC, which is like right around the corner, like scary, terrifying, like close. It's crazy. Today we've got Paul, Mark, Grant, Alison, and well, me. And yeah, we're here to discuss everything we're like nervous about, everything that we're excited about, everything that's going to be bad, everything that's going to be good about Q entering the PC gaming sphere. When I thought of the idea, I was like, okay, how do you actually start a natural conversation? So I'm just going to be like, let's start with a good old question. So to kick us off, and probably like a good move from us as a team is like, what are we most excited about with Q coming to PC? I'm gonna put that one out there. I might be a mean teacher and pick if there's no one else.
I'm still stuck on how do you start a conversation, Joe.
Yeah.
I'm terrible at that. I've literally had that as a New Year's resolution sometimes.
Yeah.
Where just to get better at starting conversations, like even with the barista in our local coffee store. I'm still terrible at it. So you're not alone in not knowing how to start a conversation.
Phew.
But I'm happy to have a go at
Sure.
Answering your question.
What are you excited about?
So what am I excited about? I think you said it all when you said excited and nervous, because it is definitely, I'm definitely feeling both of those feelings and hard to distinguish between them. But I think that probably the thing I'm most excited about, we've been talking about this for so long, like for probably 4+ years, almost as soon as we kind of got Q on mobile. It was like, oh, it'd be nice to get this on PC. And we've let lots of different circumstances kind of put us off. So it's not the right time. We don't have the resource. Making that switch to landscape is going to be really difficult. And so I'm just really excited about moving from wishing we could to knowing what happens if we do. I think that's very exciting.
Yeah, because it's been obviously been on the radar, and I feel like it's been on the radar of lots of players. Like it's like, when PC, when can I play this on my computer? What was there anything that kind of like sparked that like initial like now's a good, let's do this now? Whether it was like external like help or anything.
Yeah, no, there was kind of a specific moment in time, I suppose, which is so we had Ido Hockman joined us as COO/CFO around the sort of middle sort of Q3 of last year. And we were having a conversation, sort of discussing the sort of the year ahead. And Ido was like, well, why don't you port to PC? And so, well, we've discussed that sort of loads of times. He's like, well, why don't you just do it? We'll just work with a sort of external partner and we'll just get it done. And I think I will be generous to Ido and say it was because of his genius. If I was being ungenerous, I'd probably say there's a small element of naivety around that as well. But he just made it sound so doable and so easy. And so we just got it started, and it has, of course, it's been a lot harder than we made it sound, but we've got there. And massive credit. And we've been fortunate that sort of Ido has worked with Exient before. Exient have been our development partner, and they've been great to work with. I think that's been probably one of the biggest surprises during this project for me is just how. It's easy for me. I've not been involved on a day-to-day basis, but they've felt very easy to work with as a development partner. I don't know if that's your experience, Mark.
Yeah, I mean, I have a call every day, and it's actually a pleasant conversation. Always good to have. I think nervous excitement is also my feeling too. When we started, we set ourselves a bit of a launch date, and it originally felt a fair way off, but like. Bam! It's right in front of us, staring us in the face now, and I think we got a lot of things right, and it's really getting there right now, just as we head towards launch. But you're always wondering, like, what's going to trip us up? Can we get there? Obviously, it's not been too bad. It's been pretty smooth so far, but that almost makes things worse, doesn't it? When things have been too smooth, you're sort of at the back of your head going, "There's going to be something. There's going to be something." But I think it's so exciting though to see this coming to fruition. I've actually been at the company a little less time than Ido, So for me, it was sort of just getting started. It was a genesis of a thing when I started. And what I really love about it is just playing it on the big screen. Maybe it's my eyesight, but mine are to the side. But you know, just seeing not just the cards clearer because they're bigger, that certainly helps, but also seeing more cards. Because with a game like Q, there's so many cards in the game, and just trying to kind of comprehend what you can build on a small screen, yeah, it's perfectly doable. But it's so much better on a big screen, just being able to see all those cards and trying to figure it out. So I think that for me is super exciting. I mean, we could talk about like the different types of people that are going to come and play because it's on PC. Maybe they're the same, but yeah.
I think with the
excited, nervous.
The scale of Q kind of struck me when I think it was on an earlier build of the PC version, but it has the side scroller, and when I like hovered over the side scroller and then went to move it down, I was like, oh, the cards are going by fairly quickly, but this scroller is going really slowly. There's like thousands and thousands that I'm going to be seeing here. I'm actually really glad to hear that it was an enjoyable, smooth journey, because I know from my internal play testing sessions that we did, I know you, Mark, were quite pivotal in getting the feedback back to Eggsy in terms of like bug fixes and stuff. And I kind of like at the end of every play testing session, I was like, oh, like poor Mark, like we've kind of like gone through a lot of things for him to kind of go through. But no, it's good to hear that was.
It did feel a bit overwhelming sometimes at the end of a play session, because if you have one person play and give feedback, it can sometimes feel like a lot. But when you've got a lot of people playing and just smashing all this feedback into one Slack channel, and then you got to go through it afterwards, it can be a bit daunting, but at the same time, it's all been done. So that feedback has been super important to get, and the guys at Exient have just lapped it up, got it done. You know, it's really good working with them.
Wonderful.
I think what Mark said is fairly similar to what I'm excited for too, because I have one that I'm excited for as a player of Q, and then one is more someone that works on Q. And as a player, like obviously we still will need to touch stuff up. We're improving the builds every day, but deck building on PC, something I'm really looking forward to once it's in its fully realized form. Can't wait for that as a player. But then especially as someone that works on it, I think I'm just excited to see what content people make, because there's so many cards in the game, like you said, Joe, like you said, Mark, and surely there's, you know, decks that people in Discord haven't thought of yet, or Reddit haven't thought of, or that we haven't thought of, just because there's the combinatorics of all the different stuff you can do with the cards is kind of crazy. And then obviously, you know, we have our own kind of sense of humor applied to it. There's all the card backs on there. And so I'm just kind of excited to see just what people do with it, because, you know, we're a small team, and so surely there's tons of stuff that we haven't even thought of with it.
Yeah, I think
oh, sorry. Oh, just from like a streamer's perspective, because we've had quite a few streamers over the years, but never anything for people to play it on easily, which is really like exciting. I remember once watching some guy's YouTube, it might be following us now, but watching some guy's YouTube channel and him teaching people how to make a paper deck, which we hadn't thought about for so long, but you get all these 5 years worth of references coming at you with new players. So yeah, I like watching streamers, so I definitely will be.
I think it's going to be really...
Yes, it's going to be... Sorry, Joe, it's going to be great seeing people sort of streaming without, you know, in landscape. We've seen quite a few people actually try and stream landscape, and you just end up with the small in front of it. You know, add various artifacts and images around the rest of the screen, so it doesn't look kind of quite
I think
so...
you do a good job.
Yeah, some people have done an amazing job with
really
that, but we have not made it easy for
them.
It works for shorts, but yeah, for the more normal YouTube format, yeah, the Steam version of Q is the PC version is going to be so much better. Am I really excited also just to see what the community can do, because it's the general streaming, but you know, what are they going to do with this stuff? Are they going to be like doing pack openings? Are they going to be sort of just streaming how to play games? Are they like teaching tutorials? I'm really psyched to see that. And we were talking this morning, Grant and I, about sort of what could happen. And is there even an avenue for a bit more competitiveness with a bit of esporting and so on now we've got a PC version? So there's so much more that can be done with the sort of streaming side of it.
And I think like the tools that you get on PC, this is personal experience, but tools on PC, like the free ones especially, make it so much more accessible to like throw stuff up as well. Like on PC, on mobile, sorry, it can be kind of clunky to do that. But in terms of just like, because when I generally play PC games, I'm sat in a Discord call with friends and I throw up the stream of my game to show them what I've been playing. So I think that he's the competitive side of things in terms, because it's always been like, oh, it'd be great to have like a spectator mode and things like that, but it's kind of like that's coming alive with the PC port, which is going to be really, really cool. And also it's kind of like with the content creator stuff, it's nice because you also have the mobile like still there, like for content creators that want to get involved. It's not like you have to be like stream. It's like you can still grow like a community on TikTok or Instagram or things like that, and you can bring them together. And it's funny that Grant says about deck building, because I've been like, because we've had access to the PC builds, I was just wondering like how have you guys, in terms of your queue playing time, been splitting it, like, because I've definitely been playing all my games on PC, but kind of like trading and building and doing the other bits in my downtime in the evening on mobile. Do you think there's going to be any like weird kind of patterns that evolve within the community in terms of like, do you think they'll play more on PC with this new version?
I can tell you that I play a lot on the Steam version of it because I'm testing the builds out as often as they come out, which is pretty much daily from Exeunt. But my gut is that I'll be playing on Steam the most, I think. I think the mobile is going to be a great experience on the sofa. But for just sort of sitting down and playing games, I think the landscape, big screen format of PC is probably going to draw me. But then I'm a PC gamer at heart. So
yeah, that's it.
That's also really interesting itself, isn't it? Because I just said that and then I realized, well, that means that we've got PC gamers now coming into the mix. That's going to be super interesting too.
It's terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying. And here's why: because we're mobile first. We know that mobile games moving to Steam, you start off, you're stigmatized, from the get-go. We're realistic about that, and it's a little bit scary because I think we're all worried that the Steam community are going to go, it's a mobile game. You're horrible, evil people, because that's kind of that kind of perception. So I'm really nervous, but I think we are pretty much all, we're certainly not all mobile gamers. There's a lot of PC games and console games internally. So I'm hoping that that sort of shines through and people understand that just because we're mobile first doesn't mean that we're.
But I think we've done a lot of work to get this to be a proper PC build. So unlike just taking the game and putting it in the middle of the screen and then just sort of showing some dead space to the left and the right, at least we've tried and made the effort to be a properly landscape experience. So hopefully that'll go in our favor. But you're right, Paul. We're going to see what people think, and it's the
fact that I think as much as anything is the fact that we are a free to play title, and I think that's one of the things which is not where Steam started. It's not where the sort of the Steam community is mostly developed. So free to play is still the exception on Steam. I know there's plenty more examples now, but I think that's part of the stigma that we have to overcome. And it's important to actually to address that, which is that on mobile, of course, we are one of the ways that we generate revenues is through ads, and that's not something we've been able to do on Steam. So that's probably worth Mark, if you don't mind me stitching up there, just sort of outlining kind of how the approach we decided to take on that.
I could be stitched up, but I'm actually going to forward that stitching up straight to Grant, because Grant wrote a wonderful document for us to actually replace the rewarded ads with something else. So Grant.
Indeed. No, before that though, just going to what you were saying, Mark, about moving to landscape and not just having it, we plop it in the middle and then fill it up with some dead space. One of the things that popped out to me the first time I saw the Steam builds was how the arenas were extended. Because those, what what Exient was able to do. I don't know who actually did. I'm assuming it was Exient that did that. But the way they were to extended it and put some extra assets in there that looped in seamlessly with what the arenas feel like, that was that stood out to me when I was first playing it. But no, in terms of the ads, so yeah, we're not going to have ads on Steam at all. And so that meant we had to come up with other systems that kind of created a good player experience while at the same time not breaking the economy, not necessarily, the monetary economy, but just the game economy, the trade economy, and all that sort of stuff. And so there's 3 areas where those changes took place. So first is on the reward wheel that you can spin each day. So usually on mobile, you can spin it free every 8 hours, and then you can watch ads to get extra spins. So on Steam, we'll just be having the default spins with no extra spins associated with them, at least to start. Then for getting gems after matches, so typically if you play a match on mobile and you win and watch an ad, you can get 6 gems. If you lose, I think it's 4 gems after a match. All that ties into a daily cap of 60 gems. So we're keeping that same daily cap of 60 gems, but instead just making it as a function of matches you play. So you'll get gems after you win a match, you'll get gems after you lose a match. Those amounts will be slightly less than if you were to watch an ad on mobile, but they loop back up to the same cap. And so for the amount of gems you'll have at your disposal, that won't be changing at all. And so I'm excited about that. I think that'll be a fun one. And then the last one is everyone's favorite, trading. So currently, you have trade tokens that you can use to complete a trade. If you don't have a trade token, but you would like to complete a trade, you can watch an ad to do so. On Steam, we're going to be trialing a system where, you'll have a set amount of daily free trade tokens, but then once those are gone and you want to trade, you can refill that trade token meter up for a cost of, I think we set it at 10 gems per trade token. So you can refill it up back to 5 for a cost of 50 gems. And so you can kind of keep trading as you desire with a different way of doing so than on mobile when you watch an ad if you don't have any tokens left.
What's good about it though is that the mobile version and the PC version still work together. So if you prefer ads, I mean, some people might, then you can go and watch ads on mobile and get your trade tokens and then go to Steam and do some trading. Or if you'd rather just buy them, you can go to Steam, buy your trade tokens, and then go back, sit on your couch, your sofa, and while away the hours doing some trading. So it's a nice, it's cohesive ecosystem, and you can kind of pick and choose how you want to play the game.
Yeah, it's really nice.
And in terms of how you want to play the game, sorry, Grant, you haven't, and Alison, you haven't answered the questions to how you will use the PC version. Do you think you'll be?
Yes, so tricky one in my household because we have a PC, but it is primarily my wife's PC. So I do not have regular access to gaming on said PC. But if that weren't an obstacle, if I was at home, I would prefer to play on the Steam version, I think. But, as an American who now lives in the UK, pretty decent public transport. And so if I'm on the bus, especially, that's always good queue time. But if I'm at home, I think PC would probably be my preferred.
Yeah, I'm Mac, so I will be playing on my phone. But I mean, I think one of the only mobile gamers left in this world, so I'm already like a mobile gaming fan. So sorry.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm also Mac actually, so I do have a PC, but it's just that little bit of friction of having to open up the laptop but I plan to do deck building on there because.
Well, let's see how the PC version goes, Paul and Alison. Maybe it'll go super well, and we go, you know what, it makes sense to a
We're
Mac
buying
version.
PCs just for it. Yeah. Oh, you mean to get a Mac version? Yeah. Have we any idea how much additional effort that's going to be if we do a Mac version?
Well, a lot less than doing the PC version because we've done most of the work was getting the layouts, the screens right. So we'd have to look into it, but it's feasible. But we just got to figure out. Well, it's feasible technically. Figure out whether it's feasible monetarily for the company.
Yeah. But for anyone watching this who's got a Mac and is thinking, "Oh God, they're just serving PC," know that Alison and I have your back. We will be campaigning for Mac versions. I'd love that.
just
Indeed.
on the layout stuff, I was curious to think about, because obviously we've done loads of internal playtesting together. I was like, does anyone have any like favorite bugs that they've found? They're quite proud of like unearthing, because I remember as soon as Mark said layout, I was like, I found the perfect bug where it was like if you went into curated decks, you went into the deck and you pressed the different back button, you could take interfaces with you. And like, I don't know, from doing QA before, I was like, oh, this is just lovely. I'm gonna go around the game to see what interfaces I can collect and take with me on my Q adventures. But that was like personally what I wanted to hear from a little discussion. Was any funny bugs that anyone's come across?
I've found a bug that everyone completely disregarded, because it requires you to be basically using a mouse on your thigh as a mouse pad, and the UI just doesn't work very well in that scenario. But I was told that no one else does that. It was just me. So,
Well, we'll see what the mouse thigh user base comes back and says.
Yeah, we never know.
I think one thing that did hit us actually quite a lot was we sort of took the standard screen ratio of like 16:9, which is what most people's monitors is, and things were working great on that. And then other people came along with sort of slightly different ratios, 16:10, Paul. But it turns out that's actually not an abnormal ratio on a laptop. And then we got the people with their really fancy
what's Toby's
panoramic
ratio?
ultra wides.
It's like 32:5 or something. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. And that was a
The
whole
size
other
of a
heated problem.
plane.
So I think those are the, I don't know if they're my favorite bugs. They'd be the bugs that sort of kind of got under the skin the most, I think, because they were just constantly cropping up at one point.
Yeah, I can't imagine what like how I'll have to ask Toby for a screenshot of an ultra wide Q gameplay session. I think that would be quite a good one to go through. I also liked the bit about because I was talking to because we've got some people on early access right now giving feedback, and they were saying, oh, it's so nice that you can break things again in the arena. And I found this out in one of our internal playtests, and it reminds me of what Grant said about having the arena stretched. But I didn't realize that you can like cause absolute chaos within your arena and completely forget to play the game. So if you do get onto PC, try smash some stuff up in the science arena. It's great.
Just slight oversell there, Joe. Just
No, I promise it's
anyone
not.
who's been watching Don Bonanza's sort of videos and thinking, yeah, you know what, I'm going to be able to completely deform the environment. There's a couple of things you can tap. I'm just trying to manage.
You might be able to smash a small vial, but it's still good. So we talked a little bit about sort of like the creator side of things. In terms of like the community growing with this release, because obviously with like PC gamers coming into the fold, going into like Steam community hubs, are there any like things that we're like sort of excited about in terms of having a load of new players come into Q, and how we can kind of get them up to speed maybe? Because I know there's some kind of like, there's been some cool, I don't want to sneak peek for live ops, but there are like some cool like little bundles going into a Steam celebration.
That one for me.
Maybe.
That was a nice segue.
One of us on this call had most of the say in those bundles.
Yes, that's actually I was waiting to say, because that is the thing that makes me nervous and anxious the most, obviously touching live ops, because that's the thing that I live in. So with the new Steam bundles, I was actually just getting it up here because I don't want to say anything wrong. Give me a second to
That's
please
absolutely
edit this
fine.
out.
I've never let that stop me, Alison.
We'll go elevator
carry on.
music. It's cool.
I accidentally clicked off the channel and then I can't find. Okay, here's Steam. Okay, thank you. Sorry about the extra work there. Yes, so with Steam releasing, we really wanted to add some DLC packs to it because especially if you're already playing mobile, it's just a nice reason to download the Steam and to have a go with these cool decks on the Steam. But it's also a great way to get new players started on their journey into Cards Universe and everything. So we're talking about seeing all the great cards on the screen. So we've made 4 unbelievably mega packs essentially. So we've got the horror show pack. Our players tend to like horror and like HP Lovecraft and like the darker kind of side of things.
Mhm.
So we've got one featuring cards like Sigilum Day in it, an anime enjoyer one. We have quite a few anime fans in the game, as you know. As soon as you step onto the Discord, I'm an anime fan too. No hate here. I actually love the anime cards, so that's obviously featuring like Pika, anime, manga, that kind of stuff. We've got a pack just called Good Stuff, which just features, I'll let you guess which cards, but just some real cool cards in there. And then a Chasing Rainbows pack, which is my favourite one, which has cards like Eros and the World Turtle and Statue of Liberty. So it allows players to make different cards that feature all the albums or like numbers of albums. It's just allowing people to be quite creative with the way that they play, and because those are really key decks that people play for a long time in the game as well. So it's just you can get all 4 of them for like a reduced price too. So it's just a way of basically kickstarting your career in Q Steam, which I'm very excited about that. But I'm nervous as well because it's not going to be available on mobile.
That's what I was just about to ask. Okay, yeah, cool.
And I'm a bit, and I know that they're cool, and I know that I want them, but I can't have them. And I think, and I'm worried that people. I apologize. I'm sure if you start some sort of petition, that's a joke. But yeah, we can't. Yeah, this is just Steam only, which makes me nervous. But
would you be able to
download Steam.
I'm just trying to think if you'd still need to create your Q Steam account somehow, but because you can get, of course, Steam on mobile, and you could buy the bundles through the Steam app on mobile.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Can't figure out how exactly you'd make it work, but I'm sure someone will figure it out.
I'm sure you at least know someone with a Steam account who you trust with your Q details.
Sure.
Shall I say that?
Yeah, maybe.
If that's not like, that might be against terms of service.
Is that allowed?
For what I'm saying.
Building off
Yeah.
building off what Allison was saying, and going back to your question, Joe, I think one of the things that's ended up being a lot of fun for me going about the Steam process, because I haven't interacted with the builds as much as other people, just because I don't have access to a PC in a way a lot of the other people on the team do. But like the bundles, for example, and other parts of reworking the ads system and all those sorts of things, it's forced us to reflect a lot on what people enjoy about Q, what we enjoy about Q, and all those sorts of things. So in the bundles, we're like, thinking about our most popular collections or different deck archetypal cards and all those sorts of things, and trying to package them in a way that would get people off to their Q journey in a good way. And then, going back to, what we're excited to see people do with it. There's a lot we know about our players. There's a lot we don't know about our players as well. Like, we do surveys, we have data, we do all these things, but, we know people. There's a lot of people that love the collecting aspect. We know there's a lot of people that love the deck building aspect. We know there's a lot of people that love the more competitive aspect, but kind of seeing how that manifests and what people do, like, what collection focused folks do with the Steam build versus, someone that's more competitive. I think I'm just excited to learn more about what people like about Q, because I'm notorious for being mildly competitive about Q and trading and all those sorts of things, whereas Allison plays Q a totally different way than I do, and so that's one of the things I'm just most excited to see, is just what people like about it.
Yeah, I think it's like a really interesting time for Q at the moment, especially as a new player, because we did, it's a shameless plug here, but me and Toby did like a head-to-head that you'll be able to see soon, and we kind of went through some beginner decks, and we've just had like a resurrection season. We've had a bunch of balance updates to like old collections, and it's like kind of crazy, like the kind of decks you can actually build now that are like kind of competitive, because I know like years ago we had like Immortals, and then we had like Sue Black deck, and it's come a long way, but now you can kind of like throw a lot together and make it work. Like I was always like, I love Shake Up the Systems. I know they're bad guys, but I love them. I love playing with them, and I play against Toby. Actually, I'm not gonna spoil it, but like with the Birds deck, and it did okay. So yeah, I'm really excited to see kind of like the new player deck builds, like you're saying. It's gonna be really cool, especially after Resurrection.
I'm just kind of wondering.
Have you all, sorry to put you on the spot, but have you all sort of checked out what's going on in Q Tavern?
Yes, I actually, whenever I'm like, hey, what cool deck can I impress all the people in Discord with?
Awesome.
I'm like, Q Tavern.
Yeah, it's such a great resource. I love some of the stuff that's up there, and I find it really inspiring, because yeah, sure, certain cards may seem pretty meta, but when you look at the variety that's in there, it's it's brilliant.
And they've got a really nice
well,
like beginner section as well, and like kind of most like high energy things like that. So I'll actually for like the YouTube audience here, I'll pop the link in the description if you do want to check out CUEtabbing, because it is an awesome resource.
I was actually wondering, after what Grant said, what everyone here thinks is going to be different about a PC gamer. I mean, if I was projecting myself, much like Grant, I'd say, oh, they're going to be competitive players, because that's what I am. But I just wonder what people think that it's going to be a different type of audience, and that sort of sense of what they want from the game, trading, casual, competitive, or whether they think it's going to be the same as mobile.
I feel like a PC game like invites like a lot of what am I trying to say? PC games kind of go to them and you think like, okay, there's going to be more of like a social side to this as well. So I think with mobile games you do have that, and Q definitely does have that, because you're kind of prompted to do it through trading and like through some of our banners in terms of like, let's discuss this in Discord and things like that. So I do think it's going to be a much more like we're going to get a lot of sociable players, which is going to be really, really fun. And also that kind of translates to the content creator side of like people just actively like sharing the game. Oh, I just literally knocked over something. That's fine. But I think that's the kind of player that's coming. I hope anyway. But I don't know what everyone else thinks about sort of like.
It's interesting that Mark's sort of projecting kind of how he plays other PC games onto it, and I think for me, I know that I'll be much more likely to actually try friend challenge games, because a lot of my friends actually they look down on me for the fact that we make mobile games, and that really annoys me because they like their PC games first. But now I'm more likely to be able to sort of bring them into queue for games. So yeah, I think I'll probably actually end up just playing friendlies more. I've never been a competitive gamer though, so.
And then with many more years of experience, Paul, you'll be able to just completely stomp them and then show them who's who as well.
Yeah, I look forward to that as well. Yeah.
Oh, is that my competitive nature coming out again?
Just possibly. Yeah.
I don't know if I know what to expect from the PC player base in contrast to ours, because TCG player, there's kind of the Steam player base and how that differs from the mobile player base, but then there's also TCG players. But then we also know there's a lot of people that like Q that aren't necessarily hardcore TCG players, and we also know that amongst TCG players, a lot of them play multiple, and so it's I don't know. So for me, I like playing TCGs on mobile quite a lot. Like similar to Allison, I play a bunch of other mobile games as well, but particularly TCGs. I have a console at home. Steam is kind of typically where I'll play indie games. So somewhere behind me is the Steam Deck. That's typically where I'll go for indie games and that sort of thing. And so, yeah, it's hard to. I think I'm just ready to sit back and find out. Honestly, I don't know if I have an expectation one way or the other. Although I'd be curious. I feel like we'll hopefully get some people that play other TCGs checking out Q. I think that's one of the things I'm hoping for, to see what they think.
We have been saying we're a mobile developer and publisher for a long time now, and now we're just a TCG developer and publisher, which is what we actually want to be. So it's good. It's really nice to not just be mobile, and to yeah, I'm liking that. We're a TCG developer. That's cool.
Okay, kind of like getting to the end of our allotted time. So I did mention
just as well, Joe, because my chair is broken and it's gradually sinking. So anyone watching this over time, it's like just.
Why don't we skip through later? We'll be able to watch.
Guys, we're extending until like an hour so we can see it happen. Okay, really quickly, because I did say like we're going to be talking about what nervous, exciting, good and bad. Are there any things that you think are going to suck a little bit? Are going to be a little bit bad on release?
I mean, we've done a lot in a short space of time, and in conjunction with Eggsy, covered a lot of ground, but not everything is as refined as we would like it to be. In fact, I'd say a lot of things aren't sort of refined. A lot of things are on their kind of sort of second or third pass, and there's stuff that we'd. So, yeah, there's going to be interactions, I think, especially little interactions where they're going to be slightly counterintuitive. I think, like adding decks, adding cards to decks, for example. Some of the stuff where you'd sort of tap and hold, some of those things aren't quite, haven't quite been optimized yet for mouse. And don't try this with a trackpad. Anyone using trackpads as a primary, just get a mouse. Yeah. So I think there'll be a few rough edges, but
we'll have the Steam Deck people coming back to us and saying it doesn't work as well, I'm sure, or it works, but this is horrible part of the experience.
That's what I was going to say.
For me, this is where the nervousness gets in. Actually, is what's the bad? I think I am excited to see what people come back with feedback. And for us, this isn't a launch where we launch it and then it's done. This is us actually getting it to a point where we think it's ready as best as possible, and then putting it out to get that feedback as well. So, what I'm trying to say is we're really super willing to get feedback from everybody. We could have spent a lot longer, and tried to put out a perfect product, but then it might not have ever come out, because what is a perfect product? So I think, yeah, let's get out, get the feedback. And if I had to pick something, I think there's probably just a few little places where you might notice that there's still some artwork that's a little low res that we just haven't quite got around to yet. But as time goes by, we'll be knocking those out. And so maybe that's my bad.
I think the stuff that makes me the most nervous, again, with the caveat that, like Mark, for example, you've interacted way more with the PC builds than I have, is seeing the stuff go out that we know will be improved upon after it goes out. So, I said earlier I was most excited about deck building. The last time, I haven't played the most recent build, but that was still in a state where it was solid, functional, but not quite where we wanted it to be in the end state. And so, we play tested so much, Exient worked so hard on it, to where for things like that, we all know where we want it to get to and feel confident in where we want it to get to, and the fact that it will get there. But equally, players that get their hands on it day one won't have been privy to all of these playtesting sessions and discussions we've had about, where exactly we want this thing to get or that thing to get. And so that's the part, I think, for me, because I know when something like deck building gets truly fully polished, it's going to be great. Whether that's the day one experience, hopefully the day one experience still should be quite positive, but it's those sorts of things where I'm like, how's that going to go down? But like Mark said, it is something that we're committed to. It's not like it's out the door and then it's out the door.
Yeah.
It's something that we're quite invested in.
I think for myself, it's I think it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's completely unavoidable, but now we've got two versions of the same thing. In some ways, the mobile will be better in one way, and the Steam will be better in another way. So every time we do two things slightly differently, I feel like a favorite will come up, and I think it'll become. I think it will be. I don't think this will obviously have to happen, but there will always be like a favorite of which of the two is better. So people might see what they miss and feel sad about missing it, but it'll be okay.
People may verbalize those opinions as well, I think is what you're trying to get at there, Alison. Yeah. We are likely to hear about it. Yes.
Yeah.
What Joe is, thanks Joe.
It is a lot. It is going to be one of these things, logistical nightmare, actually, in some ways, probably is what I'm thinking about it as, is that keeping the mobile and PC in sync as quick as possible. And there are going to be times when some feature might come out first on one versus the other, but I think the thing that everyone has to remember is that we're going to be doing our best as a small team to ensure that they remain parity as quick as possible. Fingers crossed.
Yeah. And I think with the PC, it's also worth kind of going for a shameless plug again. If you do kind of like want to give feedback on like the PC once it comes out, it's going to be like the Steam Community Hub that I think we're going to be like glued to at the start in terms of like getting those bug reports through. Because obviously, like you say, it's still like two different platforms. We will have like specific channels in our Discord that we'll check to for the PC. But obviously, yeah, like you said, you guys have just said you said that, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have like bug reports from like completely different platforms now. I didn't put this in my plan for like how I'm gonna deal with this. So that's my task for tomorrow morning, I think. But yeah, that's an interesting one.
I love the way you're referring to the Steam community and your video with Toby as you know, you're saying these are shameless plugs. This is all a shameless plug.
Yeah.
That's the nature of what we're doing here. It's a shameless plug.
Yeah.
Get Q on Steam, everyone. There we go. It's a shameless plug. Is it?
That's very true. It's very true. I think I just
But
like that.
you know,
I
actually-
like that phrase. I like saying it.
But shameless plug for you here as well.
Nice.
But you know, for those people who are watching this as new to Q, haven't played it on mobile, and are fully intending to play it on PC, to plug the Discord. I mean, that has got so many players there, really experienced players who really know what they're doing. So yeah, you may come in through Steam, but go join the Discord because there's people there who'll tell you how to play this game.
They'll probably also advise you to not accept most trades offered by me, but I will reveal myself in due course.
I was going to say, have they figured out who you are yet, Grant?
Not yet.
Yeah, I just also flag up the Facebook. There are, I think, well, there are a lot of Facebook groups, but there are like 3 pretty big ones. There's the official one as well, and there's a lot of good stuff goes on Reddit as well. So we've generally had a policy of not getting involved with Reddit because it always feels like, you know, it's kind of not our place to get very involved with Reddit, although, you know, there is the moderators are also sort of moderators on Discord. But what we are doing at the moment, and this speaks to another thing I'm nervous about with Steam, we don't know how to market games on Steam. We've been doing mobile for bloody years, and suddenly we're having to market games on PC, which is requiring us to do different things. And we are actually running at the moment some ads on Reddit. I believe they're live, which is kind of terrifying because I've seen what happens sometimes if you get ads wrong on Reddit. You know that, right? So I've been worried about that. But you've seen some, Grant. How
I have. They look good.
How are they looking?
They look good.
Okay?
No, I feel like I'm one of the few in the company that I feel like the social that I track the most for our games is Reddit, for whatever reason, and so they've looked good. I'll say my favorite Reddit/Discord type thing to track is when new cards come out that provide different like deck archetypes. So for example, we had a recent card come out, Tenin, in the Japanese folklore collection. That's kind of a rainbow-esque card, and that's my favorite thing whenever we release something like that, to jump on Reddit, jump on Discord, and just see what the heck people are making with it. But yeah, so that was a fun one.
And when you say did you see ads on Reddit? So did they appear?
I did, yeah. They appeared.
You were looking through
They appeared on the Q subreddits, which I don't know, you know, maybe.
Which probably makes sense.
It does make sense.
You'd like this game, wouldn't you? Yeah.
Their algorithms work.
Okay, we are, unfortunately, I don't think we're going to be getting to the point where we can see Paul's chair collapse, because we are going to be wrapping things up soon. But sort of any sort of like closing words from anyone? We are probably going to be running a few of these again, and you'll be seeing a lot of content as we go towards the PC launch, which you have links all in all the descriptions from where you're watching. But anything from you guys before we close off for today?
So not a closing comment, but something that I've been meaning to ask because my mind's gone completely blank, and this is a spot test for everyone else. What were the cards that we released? So when Next Fest happened, we were like tiny. So there'll be, I suspect, I hope, a lot of people over the coming weeks and months coming to the Steam version. What were the cards that we released to kind of commemorate Steam? Obviously, I remember at least one of them. That Joe's straight in there. Go on, Joe.
Lord Gabe.
That was my one.
Lord Gaben.
Half-Life.
Half-Life.
Quantum tunneling, I believe.
Yeah.
Which some could argue is adjacent to Portal. If you know, why did I say Portal? I don't know. But some think quantum tunneling relates to Portal.
So
Nice.
Quantum Tunneling, Half-Life, and Lord Gaben, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Is that it?
Yeah. That's the true,
Yep.
Which I think we've discussed, which we're going to be sort of like, because they're just up for grabs as cards. I think the codes are redeemable, so we'll be making sure people can see the Steam specific ones again. So I think they're here to stay. Have I got that right? Yes.
Yeah, they're here to stay.
And we're bringing out a new Gabe card in a few weeks.
A new
That's
one.
more gay. It's not, you wouldn't guess. It's a submarine. But,
Okay.
but that's quite exciting.
Amazing, cool. Well, thank you for tuning in, everyone, and thank you everyone for joining me here today. It's been really fun talking about the terrifying nature of Q coming to PC. It's been good. I'm glad I was kind of terrified. I was like,
About
I hope everyone else
80%
is
of the
so
conversation
scared.
has
Yeah,
been
yeah,
terrifying.
terrifying. It would be like the thumbnail would just be us like really scared and just like, ah, my god,
Nervous and excited.
exactly. Cool. Well, yeah, it's a goodbye from us, and we will see you very soon. Keep it Q.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.